Welcome everybody to another episode of Found Purpose. I'm your host, Cortland Fields. Let's get into it. Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Found Purpose. I am here with a good friend through a good applicant of mine who lost his life approximately about 10 years ago, Airmen First Class Smart, which impacted me a great deal in my life. So we're speaking with his mom. So let's just get into it. So welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here. If you want to give the audience your name, you may.
Thank you first for inviting me. I really appreciate the ask, even though it's a hard topic. I'll start with my name is Dr. Meredith Beckford Smart.
Doctor. Good looking at it. All right.
I'm the mom of Airmen First Class Smart, and I have two children who he was there to in their life, which I think a part of that will come up in this conversation this morning. So he was the oldest. And he has a brother that's like 18 months apart. So, that's what they call the Irish twins.
Right.
So they look with like twins. They were always like the class behind each other. And what I will say is because they were that close, my youngest son didn't really have his own friends.
Right.
He went everywhere with his brother. So his brother's friends were his friends. Interesting. And his brother was his best friend. And then, I have my daughter. I don't really count these ages, but I always tell my people, I think they were I think he was 5 when she was born. Today she's 24, and today my son is 27, something like that.
Wow. Well, let me start. I remember your son walking into my office. It was very interesting because he was a skinny dude and very pleasant, very, very well spoken. And I remember trying to get him to joke because his name was Smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I always give people a hard time to get into the Air Force Reserve.
Right.
But your son is one that stood out to me for many reasons. And I typically don't remember every applicant. I put in so many applicants, but I typically don't remember every applicant, but you always have those unique ones that stand out. And I was like, we got to get you some weight up and stuff like that so you can make weight and everything else. And he was just so determined. Even though I tried to deter him from going into the military, he's like, no, I'm going to do it.
Right.
I'm going to do it. And the more I pushed him away, the more he wanted to go. So, and it was interesting because Sergeant Ramos, my partner in the Brooklyn office, he was like, what do you think? I was like, well, I'm gonna get his weight up. And pretty much he did the application, everything. He said, I gotta wait for my mom. I said, okay. I said, but you're a grown man. He's like, I gotta wait for my mom. I said, okay, because she's gonna want to ask you a lot of questions. She has to meet you first. I said, that's fine. I said, bring your mom in, bring whoever you want to come in. I'll be happy to sit down and I'll speak with them. And I remember you coming into the office and I was telling you about the Air Force Reserve and how I'm going to take care of your son and how I would not let him go and do security forces because, they're the first one to go to combat. And I'm probably going to get a little backlash from this right now. But as I still state, security forces, when you want to be a police officer or NYPD police officer, you don't need to be security forces. Security forces in the military, basically, we don't do the job every day that outside city police do. So we necessarily don't have to be, it's like equivalent to a security guard. So like I said, they're the first ones to go to combat. And I remember you saying, okay, you could do it. And DEP call, which is the late entry program where we do the training and everything else. I was telling your son that, you have to work out, we're going to work out. He came to every DEP call. I remember one day we was running and he would not give up. And I was pushing him to he would not give up training push-ups. I remember calling me one day telling me he was sore because we worked out so hard, but he would not give up. And I reflect back on that because his determination, I told him, I said, you're going to be a great leader. And he was like, what makes you say that? I said, because you're a great follower. And to be a great leader, you have to be a great follower. And I was very proud to enlist your son. So in 2013, I just lost my grandmother and I was about to transfer to Los Angeles Air Force Base. And I heard the news. It shocked me because I never had somebody that close that I seen progress so well and do so well.
So quickly.
Exactly. So your son held a very special place in my heart, as a lot of my applicants do. And that was like the first one. And I was like, oh my God, I hope his mom's not mad at me. I remember coming in the office and saw Ramus. He's like, hey, I got something to tell you. And I was like, what? He's like, are you okay? I was like, about what? He's like, you remember that kid Smart? I was like, yeah, what about him? Don't tell me he did something wrong. Somebody had to make him mad. And he was like, no. And he passed away. And I think I sat at my desk about a whole good hour before I even left to go home. I couldn't do nothing else because it hurt. And I know if it hurt me, it definitely had to hurt you. No question. Can you speak about that? Can you tell us what happened?
Oh boy. So very interesting. Like I'm hearing everything that you're saying because I have to say, I didn't even know, like he does his own thing, right? I
Mhm.
didn't know that he was going to all of these trainings. This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Really?
Yeah, like I didn't even know he went to your office. Like he was having conversations with you before he even introduced me to you. And then after I met you, and I'm like, okay, because I remember he wanted to do EOD, and I was like, oh no, we're not going to do that. And telling me something about a crazy movie with. So I left the office, and I'm like, okay, and I don't know if I'm very trusting, but I was like, one, I've met you already.
Right.
Really know the whole recruitment process. So I did not know that he was meeting you frequently to get the weight up, to do the running and the training. None of that until today, honestly.
One of the requirements for the late entry program is that you have to meet with your recruiter once a month before you get to ship out to go to basic training and tech school. Now, active duty, they get to train their applicants. Me, as a recruiter, you guys can, we're not supposed to train our recruiters, our applicants. I train because I refuse to let anybody fail on my watch. And so every month he would come in with the other applicants, and it'd be like 20 or 30 of us running alongside the Verrazano Bridge, like, where the water at, before we, not on the Verrazano Bridge, but water going to Belt Parkway. Right. So, yep, 2 miles and 2 miles back, 4 miles altogether after we did push ups, sit ups, and everything else.
Didn't know any of this. So I'm just telling you today, you don't even know what I will say. Yeah, I needed to hear all of that today. So it was a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. And I think a little context to this story is that, he was stationed at McGuire Air Force Base.
Right.
That was his regular duty. Now that he finished his training, yeah, I think he decided he wanted to be in the reserves like his everyday job. Because I'm telling you, Cortland, we spoke a lot, but I really did not speak much about what he was doing in the Air Force at the time, right? So I do remember that there was something happening. I don't know if it was Syria or whatever. They did tell them they had to be in place at the Air Force Base. But the Thursday, they let them come home. And he came home to see me. I
Okay.
did not know he was coming home.
Okay. So just let everybody know we're talking about the war in Iraq.
Yeah. Trust me, like I'm going to say, I really don't pay attention to those things,
But
right?
just give me yep. I got you.
So this was September 2013. Barack Obama was the president. I know at the Air Force Base, they made them come all in a room, whatever was happening. So I was speaking to him on the phone on the Thursday morning, and he was like, oh, yeah, a package is going to come there for me. I'm like, okay, a package is going to come, blah, blah, blah. Get off the phone. I'm in the house. I hear my front door open. He's coming in, had his uniform on and everything. And I was like, so surprised, like, what are you doing here?
Right.
He's like, I'm here. So anyway, he was like, so I want you to go someplace with me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go with you. Wherever you want me to go, I'm gonna go. My daughter was with me at the time. Wow. I need to go back a little bit
Take your time.
because a lot happened within the 2 weeks before he passed away. So I want to say it could have been August, and it was my son's first year in college. And so, we were taking him to drop him off. and he was at the Air Force Base. And he really was acting like he was my son's father. Like, I got to take the day off of work, take him back, take him to school. He bought him a laptop. It's so really, and he bought him a Mac. He wasn't even playing. He bought him a Mac laptop. Like, he is the man's father. So funny because we had a disagreement. Like, hold up, you are not his father. You are not his parent. I'm the parent here. Came from work saying he had to take his brother to school, and we took him to school, got him settled in. He bought him the laptop, and we dropped him off. That was the last day he saw his brother and his brother saw him. And it was so weird. That's all I was going to say. It was the last day. Like, he gave him the little pound. Yeah. And I was asking him, you think I should let him take the game to school? He said no. He's not going to school to play a game. He's going to like, what is happening? Like, you are not his father, right?
But you're asking him.
Yeah. So then he comes home Thursday. He's like, I want you to come somewhere with me. And he took us, my daughter, his sister. And on the ride, he said, but I want my father to come. Mind you, he hasn't spoken to his father in close to a year. They had a big fallout. I don't know. I'm not a man with a son, but people say sometimes the father and the son have the day of reckoning. Let's just say they had the day of reckoning a year before this.
You know what? I just want to say, when I saw you the other day and you was telling me that whole story, it brought back another memory. And I remember the determination in your son's face was different. I try not to probe too much into their personal life unless it's really serious and I need to get involved. But when I heard that story, it made sense. When you told me the story, it made sense. And it came all together. I said, that's what he has to prove. Because I was always telling Smart, like, what are you trying to prove? He was like, I just have to be the best.
Yeah. So him and his dad had a whole day, had this whole big argument. His grandmother was there, which is my son's great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She's from Marcy Project. She don't play that. She's from the South. She came in from the South, right? And she had her cane and she was going to beat her grandson. Like, you need to sit down. Like, don't let me hit you with my cane right now. The funny story is she adopted my son's father. So that is his mother. And legally, that would be my mother-in-law and my children's grandmother because of legalese. But biologically, that's great grandmother to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had this day of reckoning. He comes home. He says, yeah, call my dad. I want him to meet us today. I don't speak to this man like that, but I'm like, okay, I'll call him. But I know something about his dad. If I call him and tell him to come meet me, he's coming. He's going to drop everything ASAP. So anyway, I called him. I was like, yeah, Law said he wants you to come and meet him. He's like, okay, where's? Text me the address, sent him the address. And on the way on the ride, he said to me, so Mom, I want to ask you something. And I said, okay. He likes to have these really deep conversations with me, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I don't remember, but I feel like the question was like, where is a sacred place? What word would you use for a sacred place for you? Right. Mm-hmm. And he's like, some people say church, some people say a mosque. And I was like, I want to say a temple. That's what I said to him. But I said to him, for me, when I think of a temple, I think of your body. Body is my temple. That's my sacred place. He said, okay. He said, all right. So the word is temple. Yeah, the word's temple. So anyway, we drive, we get to the place. The dad is there. And he gained weight. He got taller. He had weight and muscle on him. And so it was almost like his father had to look up in his face. No, it was just like a growth spurt. Like, what happened? I'm looking too. Like, he got taller than me. So it's like his father had to look up to him, but then his father's looking at him like, wow, you look good. That's what his father's saying. You look good, son. You look good, son. And he's looking like, I do, right? And he had this tattoo. He came there to get a tattoo. So he wanted us to meet him at a tattoo parlor.
Right.
In Park Slope. And I cannot remember exactly what was the words that he had on this tattoo. But I figured out the reason why he was asking me about my sacred place was because of the temple.
Mm,
and he wanted to put the word into the tattoo.
nice.
And it was something about something, I'm telling you, I probably should like take a picture and remember it. But it was something about like something in honor of the prince or something. I really can't tell you, but Temple was in there, Prince was in there, and Throne,
Gotcha.
right? That's what I could remember. And him and the father going back, like, no, son, take out the prince. And you, because he's referring to himself as the prince. My son is saying he's the prince. Take out the prince and you need to put king. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. He was like, I'm telling you, son, you need to do that. Father is very like masculine, aggressive.
Right.
Like very calm, very calm.
Every assurance of a selfer.
Yeah, like I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say to you is, as long as my mother is alive, I will always be the prince and she will always be the queen.
Mm.
And I was like, I sat there, I was like, okay, I'm just watching all of this happening, this interaction, like, this is okay. And then he was showing me, so crazy, he was showing me, he was like, Mommy, I really want to get this tattoo. This tattoo means from cradle to the grave. Telling me I'm not like paying attention, like, oh, okay. Okay. He's like, but I'll get that one next time. I'm like, okay. But he wanted to write the words. He
Right.
wanted so, he's getting the tattoo. His dad is watching him like, yo, he's not screaming, none of that. Then he looks at me and I could tell his dad said, it was like his dad felt like there wasn't a place for him at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So he looked at me, he's like, yeah, I'm about to get out of here. I'm like, okay, see you later, talk. That's the last time he saw his father. So that was Thursday. Friday, he goes to his high school, aviation high school in Queens. He was
Mm-hmm.
part of the junior ROTC there.
Mm-hmm. That's where we met.
You met him at aviation high school?
That was one of our schools.
Wow, I didn't know that either.
That was
He-
our school. That
yeah,
he went to. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he was there. He was in the junior
ROTC.
since freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were doing a lot.
Williams and everything. Williams was his GROTC instructor. Yeah.
Yep. And every event they had, he was there. Veterans Day March, he was there. Like that was his clique. That was his
Mm-hmm.
crew. That's where he found his best friends. That was his family. I love that school. He went back to the high school, I guess to do like a motivation speech to the students that were there to see Sergeant Williams and Sergeant Kyle and tell them thank you and look, this is where I am. And then Saturday, he's like, yeah, I'm taking my sister on a shopping spree, whatever she wants. I was like, oh, whatever she wants. So he took us to Roosevelt Field and sat there, whatever she wanted to buy, he was buying it for her. And it was so funny because I think she wanted to go to, I don't know if it was Aeropostale, but he told her, no, don't go to that store. I want you to get quality clothes. Do not go. I don't want you to buy an Aeropostale. He was really like in his space. She's in the dressing room. She's taking forever, but he sat there patiently waiting for her. Like, just like, most people would be walking around the store. He just sat there. And that's when I noticed that he was also taller than me because we took a picture together in the waiting room. You know how you do that
Right.
selfie mirror? We did that there. We actually went to see my father that morning because he has a really good relationship with my father. Like every Saturday when they were younger, he would come and get them.
Right.
So we saw him, took us shopping, and then it was a fight. I don't know if it was Floyd Mayweather fight or whatever. And he has a friend, and he's always looking out for friends. Like, oh, let me go and pick up Danny and take him to the fight because Christian really treated him bad. I really don't like that, but I don't care. He's coming with me and took him to the fight and all of that. And then Sunday morning, he's getting ready to go back to the Air Force Base, but he's like, Mom, I want to take you to the movies today. You and Ike. And I'm like, okay, I don't really like the movie, but okay, I'll go with you. And he was like, yeah, so we're going to go see Insidious. I'm like, well, I don't really like scary movies. Do not like scary movies.
Right.
I'll go with you. And then he's like, yeah, but I'm going to go pick up Moya, which is my mother. I'm going to go pick her up from church. And so there's a girl in this story that wanted to come and meet him. And he told her, I told you not, I didn't want to meet you today. But he's being the type of person that he is, drove up to Eastern Parkway by the 4th train, Utica Avenue.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, he drove up there to pick her up, knowing he has to go pick up my mom. So he did a detour. Went and picked her up. Now they're driving to go pick up my mother. And then he got into a car accident on Linden Boulevard in Brownsville. You know, the Brownsville Recreation Center on Linden Boulevard?
BRC.
Yeah, right across the street from there. Exactly across the street from there. And yeah, he did not make it from there. I'm in the house waiting, like, yeah, he's coming. We going to the movies. I'm ready. I was watching 42, Jackie Robinson.
Right.
And I was admiring Jackie Robinson because of his tenacity, his spirit, and Chadwick Boseman's smile in there. There was one scene where he was like at the train station and they just like focused in on this smile. And I saw the smile and I felt like a tear. It was weird. I was like, wow, his smile. But his smile reminded me of a lost smile. And I get the phone call right at that scene. Hello, is this Meredith? I was like, yeah. We need you to come to the hospital. We're at Brookdale. Can't remember, but they did say it was about a lost Smart. We need you to come now. And they didn't tell me what it was, but I guess because of my motherly instinct.
Yeah, they're not allowed to tell you what the incident until you get there.
Yeah, I just knew something wasn't right. I couldn't put my shoes on. I was already a mess in the house.
This has been another episode of Found Purpose. Remember, your spirit is never too broken, shattered, or damaged where it can't be fixed. Put God first and everything is fixable. Let's start healing in the spirit.